Good evening, everybody. I think we're live now on YouTube. Good evening and welcome to this second meeting of the Rochdale Hustings series. My name is Gordon Tilstone, as I hope you can see on the screen, and I'll be chairing tonight's event. Tonight we're focusing on the North Middleton ward and its candidates. All 8 candidates standing in the election for North Middleton have been invited to this meeting, of which we have, I think, 4 at the moment represented, 3 or 4 represented. There should be 5 all told on the meeting, representing 3 political parties. We should have 1 from the Green Party, 1 from Labour and 3 from the Independents, hopefully. A couple of people are having trouble getting online, but we'll try and make a start anyway. Each of the candidates will have just a minute to introduce themselves initially, and then following that they will have, each party will have a minute and a half to answer a series of questions which have been put forward by local residents. And then at the end of tonight's question session, each candidate will have a further minute to sum up. So let's get started. Well, I was going to start alphabetically, but unfortunately Peter Allenby of the Middleton Independents is not with us. So we'll go with Neil Butterworth of the Labour Party, if we can. Thank you, Neil.
Thank you very much, Gordon, and thank you very much to everybody who's organises this and given us the opportunity to put our views forward and show ourselves off for North Middleton. So thank you very much for everybody for actually getting involved and setting these things up. They're always forgotten, these people, so thank you right from the very start for getting in there and doing stuff. A little bit about me. I've written some stuff which I did for my selection for the Labour Party, so I'm going to use a little bit about that, just to give you a little bit of a gist back to 1955 when said Butterworth was actually born. I know I don't look it, but it's there. It's the I think it's the monkey glands or something like that that's keeping me all fresh and lovely. I think it was because of my mother being a bit of an activist, a female activist, and storming the Ollingworth Lake Rowing Club, demanding that women were involved in it back in the 1950s, when it was an all-male bastion. And my father and my grandfather being strong members of the Labour Party over the years, that probably genetically I've been set there as a socialist for all of my life, really. So the Labour Party became an easy option for me. It's a broad church, and I don't always fit in with quite everything that the Labour Party does, but in the general themes, I'm a socialist in shortened words, and a sociable person as well. So I enjoy getting involved with people. I think my people attributes are probably the best thing that I enjoyed, both when I was at work in the motor industry, which I am now retired from. So I enjoy people and the interaction with people. And I'm a bit of a frustrated politician, really, because my original views of politicians was there's got to be something wrong with you to want to do the thing in the first instance. Until I actually, by default, did get involved in politics.
Sorry, we're going to have to wrap you up there. I'm afraid you've had your minute and a half. Sorry. So I'm going to move on now, but just to mention before I move on that you'll notice that there's no picture of Keely O'Mara from the Independents on the screen. Unfortunately, Keely's having major problems with her camera. Hopefully we'll be able to hear from Keely though. So I'm going to move on to Keely next. So if you want to make your opening statement, Keely, please go ahead. Thank you.
Hi, Gordon. Thank you for inviting us tonight. My name's Keely O'Mara. I'm proud to be standing with Middleton Independents this year. For those that don't know me, I work on a family farm. I'm heavily involved with the community already. I volunteer with the round table with events like BS May Day. I also support and work alongside a local green belt. On top of that, I run a friends group and students in bloom. Standing this year, quite simple. Tony first.
If I could just interrupt you there, Keely, we're having major problems hearing you. A lot of what you're saying is dropping out. So unless we can get a better connection with you, I think we'd better move on. If you could try and get nearer to your home router, maybe we can come back to you in a minute or two, if that's possible. Okay.
Fine. Is that?
Sorry, did you hear me there?
Is that better?
Sorry, Lee. Okay, we'll move on to Lee Wolf. We'll hopefully get Keely back if she can move a bit nearer to her router. So sorry. If we can move on to you now, Lee. Lee from the Middleton Independents also. Thank you.
Thanks, Gordon. Hi, I'm Lee Wolf, and I've lived in Middleton for the last 19 years with my wife and 2 daughters. Professionally, I'm a planner for Network Rail, and outside of work, I'm a member of Rotary Middleton, currently their president. I'm also the treasurer of the Edgar Wood Society, and more recently, the treasurer of Middleton Archaeological Society. I'm a keen local historian too, having set up Facebook groups, one in particular called Middleton Picture Box, where I offer to scan old photos of the town to share with members. Further afield, I'm a trustee of a primary school in Kenya, Mikrashoni Primary School. I look after their web, social media, and help with fundraising. I'm running to be your councillor because I feel the time has come for Middleton to get a better deal than we've been getting recently. We've been let down by successive Labour councils and have become uncared for and an unloved outcrop on the edge of Rochdale. The time has come to change things. We need councillors who care about Middleton, who live in Middleton, and who knows what the issues are in Middleton. I care passionately about Middleton and promise to give my all to make sure Middleton thrives again. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Lee, for that. Now, we're still having problems getting the other candidates online. So I'm going to move on to questions now. The first question. This question is about affordable housing, which includes social housing. So the question is, the average price of houses in Middleton is around 195,000. So number one, is this affordable to residents? And number two, how will you encourage and support decision making with regards to social and affordable housing availability? So I was going to put that to the Green Party first, but as they're not available, we're going back to Neil if we can. Neil Butterworth from the Labour Party. Neil.
Thank you, Gordon. Yeah, it's a massive issue. It's not just a Middleton North issue. It's a countrywide issue, isn't it? Affordable housing, to me, affordable housing is relevant to the amount of money that you earn in the first instance. So you've got to look at a balanced approach to that. It's about actually having a job to be able to afford to pay the damn rent. Never mind what the rent is. You've got to be able to earn money to be able to get out there and find properties if you can find properties. So there's a few issues that we've got to start to look at. We've got to look at RBH as a problem. They're not lived up to the expectations that were expected as an housing association. So I think there's a necessity to bring that back into in-house and back into the council. So if we could get RBH back in there, one of the issues and the big issues is the right to buy. People are buying the council houses and want to be own holders, which is fine, but the housing associations are not building as fast as they're actually selling the property off. So the property just aren't there. Now, going around Middleton over the last few weeks while we're canvassing, I'm bumping into an awful lot of houses that aren't even occupied. So we've got to get better at getting people into the houses that are there and that are available. These are not necessarily RBH stock or housing stock that are run by the housing associations. These are private houses that are out there. A lot of them are done up to a very good standard. They're not, they're not poor housing. They're good standard housing. They're good quality, but they're there with nobody in them and getting neglected with long gardens. So I think there's a lot we can do. There's a lot of areas we can do, but it starts by organising RBH into a better system and getting that back in-house, and putting more pressure on private landlords to actually get the doors opened up and people's actually in there and paying the rents that are affordable in the area.
Okay, thanks very much for that, Neil. And now if we could, we were hoping to move on to Keely with this question for the Middleton Independents. I don't know if Keely has got a better connection. Can we just try that with you, Keely?
Any better go? Take that.
Keep going, let's try.
Down question. Is that good for Middleton? No, not all of Middleton. There's a good percentage of Middleton that couldn't afford that kind of price bracket. I do agree we do more for the children. We also need
Keely, if I can just interrupt you there. Sorry about this. We're obviously having major problems with your internet, so you're really dropping out a heck of a lot. If we can try and get that question answered by Lee for the Middleton Independents, if you can, Lee, at all, if you can come in on that one.
I'll have an effort, Gordon. I haven't researched. This is my area, but I'll have a go.
Yeah,
£195,000 is not affordable, and it's clear to me that we need a better plan for housing in Middleton, and the plan needs to protect and promote Greenbelt. We need to work with developers to regenerate and build on brownfield sites. Definitely need more affordable homes and social housing, which is Band-Aid stuff. And at our planning level, we need to insist that developers add affordable homes to their plans, and these are built first before the more expensive homes are built. And any plans agreed with developers must be enforced.
thank you very much for that, Lee. We're obviously having some major difficulties tonight. Even I keep forgetting to unmute myself when I'm supposed to, and I'm supposed to know what I'm doing. So apologies all round to everybody, especially you listening at home, watching and listening at home. So we're going to move on to the next question now. This is a question about antisocial behaviour and policing. So the question is, people are concerned about crime in the area, be it antisocial behaviour, burglaries, car crimes or fly tipping. How will you make sure that North Middleton residents feel safe, and what are your priorities? Now, I'm going to come back to you, Lee, if we can, because you were going to answer this one for the Independents. So if we can come back to you first, please.
Okay, thank you. I just want to acknowledge that our police do an amazing amount of work for Middleton, but crime is a real issue here. The people of Middleton need to feel safe at home and in the street. Perceived low-level crime, I think, is often ignored, and because it's ignored, generally becomes a larger problem. An example being drug dealing on streets has become a norm, almost a regular thing, with an Uber-style delivery service, which is thriving, and this can never be acceptable in residential areas. So we'll work with police and local agencies to produce a local policing plan aimed at reducing this and other types of crime and antisocial behaviour. We need to understand better the triggers for antisocial behaviour, and we believe that our young people need to be invested in too. Thanks, Gordon.
Thank you very much, Lee, for that. Thank you very much. So we'll come back to Neil now for the Labour Party, if we can. Okay, Neil?
Yeah, thank you, Gordon. Yeah, it's a massive issue. The thing is with it is that it to me it's the old story of the devil makes work for idle hands to do. So unless we can get better involvement with the youth and get people out there and get people doing things in the youth services, finding activities that stops them wanting to cause antisocial behaviour and get involved in drugs and the like, we're fighting a bit of a losing battle. So my view has always been to put money into, and I've been very successful throughout the borough really, of actually getting private people to donate funds and put money into youth centres and youth zones. And to me, the figures that we've got from other parts of the northwest and other parts of Greater Manchester, where we've seen reductions of over 70% reduction in antisocial behaviour where youth zones have been introduced, is a damn good start point to actually start having an effect in North Middleton, in the Middleton area in general. We've got to get money put into youth zones, get the youth out there, being active, doing sports and doing all sorts of other activities, rather than having time on their hands to wander about streets, getting involved in drugs and causing a damn nuisance. So to me, it's about investment in youth zones and getting people out there off the streets and into activities where they're actually making their minds work and can see the right way of actually behaving rather than causing a lot of trouble. So that's, to me, is the start point. It's a massive subject. There's all sorts of different angles on it, but you've got to start somewhere.
Okay, thank you very much, Neil, for that. All very interesting so far. So we're going to move on to the next question, but just before that, I think we are really having major problems. Keely is struggling to use the microphone, not use the microphone, but get a signal through to us. So I think we're going to have to stick at this point with just Lee for the Independents and Neil yourself for Labour. So I'll move on to the next question now, if I may. And this question is about congestion and transport. So the question is, there are plans to extend the metro line to Middleton and create a rail station at Slattox. So in two parts, the question is, which of these would be your priority, if any? And secondly, do you support the clean air zone proposal? And if not, how would you tackle air pollution? So I'm going to come back to you, Neil, if that's all right first, because we're going back and forward really here, aren't we, between Labour and the Independents. So I'll go to you first, Neil. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I am in favour of a station at Slattox. Yes, mainly for several reasons, really. Mainly for the enterprise in the area of getting people into jobs and into work. But I think there's also there's a social spin-off from it as well. Communications is always an issue, and the heavy rail system has got some advantages over the tram system as well. You know, so there's great advantages there. There's lots to do again in congestion and transport, and I think that the answer in a lot of it lies in technology and new technology that needs to be introduced. We've always, as a borough, been very, very forward thinking, if you like, and clean air zones are about not producing the damn stuff in the stuff in the first instance. So the sooner we can get onto hydrogen power and the likes, the better. The technology's there. We need more investment into that. We need to look at those sorts of things. We need to look at waste to energy sites. I've done a lot of work with that with the council over the last sort of 8 years, really. And we need to get more of that used. We need to get better energy sources. We've got solar. We're starting to do a bit more with solar. I still think there's plenty of room for that in North Middleton area. There's areas there. every factory roof in my world should have solar on the top of it, and be generating as much as we possibly can from that direction. Does that cover everything, Gordon?
I think so, Neil. Yes, thank you very much. So if we could move across to you, Lee, to answer that question. Do you need a reminder of the question? Are you okay?
No, I've got it, Gordon. Thank you. We want Metrolink in Middleton. It can serve as the catalyst for the regeneration of the entire town. By bringing Manchester closer, the tram will encourage people who work in Manchester, who may have been priced out of living in Manchester, to come to Middleton and live here. The tram will go some way to reduce traffic too, and this will have a knock-on effect, making buses faster because of less congestion. We'll work with TfGM to produce and implement a plan to increase bus and train frequency. Regarding the train at Slattox, we're not in favour of the train station at Slattox because it's on greenfield and greenbelt land. So, well, we shouldn't be building on the greenbelt, and building the station on the greenbelt will result in more housing being built on greenbelt. We are against the clean air zone, or a charging clean air zone, and we think there should be more carrot than stick. We need incentives to encourage people to make the switch to cleaner vehicles. Have I covered everything?
Sorry, yes, I think you have. I keep forgetting to unmute, like everybody does on these interactive things. So thank you very much for that. So we'll move on to the next question. Just a reminder for everybody that's watching, sorry for only having a couple of candidates on screen for you. Unfortunately, a number of people have had difficulty getting online, and although you can see a blob there for Keely, she's having major problems. So we're going to stick with Lee Wolf for the Independents and Neil Butterworth for the Labour Party. So just to carry on, the next question is about education. And I appreciate that both of you might not be experts in this area, but if you can do your very best, we'd much appreciate it. Thank you. So the question is, parents' choices for a particular local school for their child is not always possible. How would you ensure that every child in North Middleton has a school place within walking distance of their home? And if I could come back to you, Lee, straight away, please, if I could.
Yeah. It isn't my subject, but I think a lot of this shortage comes down to the planning of new developments. New developments need to make sure that all the facilities are catered for in the area, and I feel that the new builds around and about haven't taken into account the educational needs, the health needs of the new population that are going to come into North Ward. And I think that is the crux of the problem. That's really all I've got on that. The building work that's been taking place, the facilities haven't followed suit. We have not provided the facilities needed for the new population.
Thanks very much, Lee. Like I said, I understand that people aren't actually experts in that particular area, so well done for trying your best. So we'll go over to Neil, if we can, from the Labour Party, and ask you the same question, please, Neil.
Yeah, thank you, Gordon. Yeah, I'm in the same boat as Lee, really. I'm not an educationalist, but I know plenty of people that are, none less than my wife, of course, and a lot of people in the Labour Party. So we've got massive structure within the Labour Party related to education. It's one of our core values, of course. We've got a little bit of somebody's out on the timing as regarding the academy ideas. So I'm not particularly au fait with which of those routes is flavour of the month at the moment. I think that the jury's a bit out on it, but I know plenty of people in the Labour Party that are in favour of academies, and I think that they're working in the right direction. And I'm sure there's plenty of expertise there within the education departments in Rochdale that are trying their very best. I know that we've got some great results coming out of the sixth form colleges, and Hopwood Hall particularly, some great sort of stuff. So I'm not knocking them. I think they're doing a great job. It's very difficult, as I know, but I think as regarding education in Rochdale, he's certainly going in the right direction. Very challenging, but there's some good stuff coming out of it.
Okay, thanks very much, Neil, for that one. And okay, we'll move on to our next question, if we might. And this is about the local economy and services. So, and it's often said that Middleton gets a raw deal compared to Rochdale. People pay council tax and do not feel like their opinions are being heard. So the question is, how will you encourage and support greater investment into Middleton? And how will people get their voices heard? So I'm going to go back to Lee, if that's all right, first of all on this one. Okay, Lee?
Yeah, that's fine. Let me just get my... right, so we want to regenerate our town centre. We feel that Middleton has been starved of investment in recent years, and it shows, while Rochdale has hoovered up the massive investment. While Rochdale gets heritage investment, Middleton is lucky to get lottery grants. Bringing Metrolink to Middleton will boost the attractiveness of the town to businesses and residents alike. The boost should see an increase of footfall in the town and hopefully attract more big name retailers, restaurants and leisure companies. We support the regeneration of the Warwick Mill site and look forward to reviewing the plans when they're submitted. We'd also like to see rent and business rate breaks for new businesses across the town. We also want to see a new business hub set up with access to training and support to help businesses thrive, creating new jobs and filling empty shops. We'll support the creation of a skills hub too. This will help train or retrain workers in the town.
Okay, thanks very much for that, Lee. And over to you now, Neil, with the same question. Thank you.
Yeah, it's vital. We've got to get money into the town. I agree with Lee on the issues as regarding the Metrolink and the like. It's certainly going to be an advantage to Middleton. There's another area that we're lacking in, that there's is about to develop, which is industry itself, and not just in distribution, but in actual manufacturing. So we're very close to being able to get manufacturing in some big manufacturing into the Junction 19 area of the M62. So around that area, which will have a massive spin-off into Middleton, there's going to be an awful lot of jobs available. Now, it's not just about starting off with jobs. You've got to start with the jobs. They've got to be the right types of jobs as well. We don't want just people having to do warehousing work. We want the people that's doing the computer programming. We want the people and the boss of the firm. We want him living in Middleton, and we want him spending his money in the Middleton area as well, and his wife and everybody else. And we want them to go have the nights out and have a good time when they go out there in Middleton, enjoying themselves with the nighttime economy that works with it. So it's about generating wealth. We have plans to do that. We know where we can get that. We're generating that sort of money through the Labour Party, through getting involved in government and doing stuff. We're in a great position as a Labour Party that we have a structure there to actually get hold of this information, get hold of business and get them over the line and actually start them to produce things. It's a battle, because you have to battle with the Tories who want the same sort of things in their areas as well. But at least with the levelling up funds and things, there's a certain degree of we're getting the chances here now to actually get industry back into the Middleton area, good jobs, well-paid jobs, and get the housing around it as well, so that the boss wants to live in Middleton, not just the workers.
Okay, thanks very much for that, Neil. So we'll move on to the next question, which is about the environment. And I know you might have already touched on this slightly, both of you, but we can just hear this one out. So although the council has declared a climate emergency, they've also continued to progress the Places for Everyone plan, which people may have heard of. This will take away a greenbelt, which is not only a lifesaver during COVID, but has also been part of the character of the area. So two parts to the question. How will you encourage and support decision-making with regards to the environment? And do you think the greenbelt should be built on? I'm going to come back to you, Neil, if we can, first of all, on that one.
Number one, no, I don't think we should build on the green belt. And I'm aware the day when it started, and the Tories and the Liberals opened up the floodgates for the developers to dive in there and try and do it. So it does need protecting. It does. We do need to make sure that there's a belt round us that keeps us nice for places to go and enjoy ourselves. It's all part of the rich tapestry of life. We can't ignore it. We've got to do something about it. We've got to protect it. As Lee says before, we've got to build first of all on brownfield sites. That's got to be our priority. There's pressures on it, and there's a lot of pressures on it on the systems as the way that the things is set up. The legal side of it is an absolute nightmare. But I think if you follow your own morality on this, people know what is right and wrong, and the way that places should be developed. People know what's a green space and what isn't. We need to make sure that there's an area there where we can enjoy ourselves. We can get out there. We can get into the countryside. We don't want to be hemmed into the centre of Manchester. If we were doing that, we'd have gone and lived there, wouldn't we? We're out there. We've got a little bit of green space around us. We've got to protect it, but we've also got to develop. We've got to develop, and we've got to make sure that we use those brown sites to do it on.
Okay, thanks very much for that, Neil. Moving over to you on that question now, Lee, please.
Yeah, we'll oppose any plans submitted to develop on the greenbelt land. We oppose destruction of the greenbelt. And the development of greenbelt goes against any green air policy, surely. And I'm sure Labour voted to build on the greenbelt just recently as well. So that's one to remember. We'll protect our green spaces as well from development. So that's parks and our open green spaces. And as I've said before, we'll encourage developers to regenerate our brownfield sites. Other things we need to look at is looking at encouraging the adoption of solar panels and heat pumps. That could be through grants, and new vehicles that the council bring on. All new vehicles the council owns, all these should be electric. Small steps add up to big change.
Okay, thanks very much for that, Lee. Okay, and we'll move on to what is actually our last question. We've probably moved a bit swifter than we thought we were going to, because we've got a few less people speaking, but we'll crack on anyway. So the last question is about the integrity in local office, or your integrity in local office. And the question is, if elected, will you be able to withstand party pressures to work for the greater good of the community? And it's a sort of yes or no question, but I'll give you some leeway on this one, because we do have a bit of time left. So if I could come back to you, Lee, first. Thank you.
It's a yes from me. It's the reason why I've stood as a Middleton Independence candidate. Our people are first. And they are beyond the party politics of it. So yes, from me. I don't make false promises. I don't believe in making commitments I can't deliver. As you can see, I've been involved with several organisations, and I'm well versed in delivering results. And I set the high benchmark for my own ethics, and believe all councillors should do so too.
Thanks very much for that, Lee. And over to you again, Neil, for the Labour Party. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. It's a great one for me, this, because I get in so much trouble for going against party politics on regular occasions. Because, as I said in my last bit about the green areas and such like, you know what's right and what's wrong. People know what's right and what's wrong. We've got to stand by our moral standards on that, whether it's party politics or not. So I have, on regular occasions, gone against the whip of the Labour Party and gone against their wishes because it's something I don't believe in. If it's something I don't believe in, I will not go down that route. I will going to go down the route that I think is right. And I think everybody should go on that same route as well. And we will do, we will look at that. When you're talking to people just like myself, you're not just talking to one particular person, you're talking to an organised party. Everything that's gone on so far that you've said that from these independent people, I've got no qualms with everything they do. It's coming from heart, and I agree with an awful lot of what they're saying. They're doing the right sorts of things. The difficulty that I think they will find is actually delivering it. It's getting the delivery across and making these things actually happen. It's all right from the outside, because I was on the outside looking in, until you actually get inside there and find the difficulties of actually making these things happen. It's very, very, very difficult. But you've got to stand there. You've got to be morally right about what you think. Stand on your own morals and push for it, and it'll come through eventually. I'm sure that'll happen. So from my point of view, yes, you've got to take the morals to high ground and go for what you believe is the right thing to do.
Oh, okay. Well, thanks very much for that, Neil. I mean, I don't know if Lee wants to make a slight response on that one. Playing party politics slightly there, Neil. So we'll let Lee just come back on that if that's all right with you, Neil.
I forgot to mention that the Middleton Independents don't really have a party whip. So we are, I feel, more in tune with our constituents, with the Middleton people. I don't agree with you, Neil. I think we're going to win, and we'll get things done, and we'll be successful because we are listening. We are not being dictated to by a central body. We are on the ground with the people.
Okay, thanks for that. I hope that satisfies both sides in this small debate here. So that's the end of our questioning for tonight. So we come to the point where I'll let both of the candidates on screen tonight just give a sort of like a summing up for just a minute, if they could just sum up what their thoughts are on going forward in the election and so on. So if I could come back to you, Neil, first of all, please.
Yeah, thank you, Gordon. I'm very encouraged. I'm very encouraged that there's people like Lee and Keeley and people that are getting involved and actually have a view and wanting to do things for their own particular area. I think it's great. I think that the fact that we're out there, we're talking about it, is a very healthy situation. I just hope that the general public think the same as well and get out there and put their mark on that piece of paper. So anything like this, any sort of debate, getting things out into the open is all good in my book. There's some good ideas out there. I think we're all on the same page. We all want a better future for our people and our residents. We all want good schools. We all want good transport systems. We don't want being harassed by antisocial behaviour and police problems. We need to get a nicer place in Middleton. So I'm encouraged by the debate today, and I'm sure that we, as the Labour Party, as a team, can deliver it. We've done a lot over the years. We've got a lot more to do. And I get the idea that Middleton feels, left out. It's my job and the rest of the Labour Party's job to make sure we get our share of that funding and create other funding ourselves to get spent in Middleton. That's what we've got to do. and I know we can do it.
Thank you very much, Neil. Okay, so back over to you, Lee, if you could just sum up there for yourself and the Middleton Independents, please.
Will do, thank you. On the 5th of May, Middleton is at a crossroads, and we all must collectively make a choice. We can stay on the same road with the Labour Party running down Middleton, with less service, more dilapidation, less enforcement, fewer opportunities, and at election times, the production of a manifesto that seems to promise the world, but seldom delivers for Middleton. Or we can make the break and head towards a new future for Middleton, a future where your local ward councillors live in Middleton and are not bussed in from other parts of Rochdale. A future where the people of Middleton are listened to at local level and their views considered. A future where your ward councillor will be your champion and support you when you need them. A future where we think Middleton before Rochdale. I'm ready for this change, and I hope you are too. I'm ready to put Middleton first every time.
Thank you very much, both of you. Sorry, I've just lost the screen for a second. Right, sorry, there we are. Sorry, I just got a screen popped up in front there, so apologies for that. Well, hopefully everybody's found that extremely interesting. So that's technically the end of tonight's Middleton, North Middleton Ward Hustings. I hope everybody at home found that interesting, what you've heard on the Hustings tonight, and very worthwhile. I'd like to personally encourage everybody, like the candidates have, that everybody gets out to vote. They urge their family and friends, wherever they might live, to also vote in their local election. A recording of tonight's event will be posted on YouTube shortly if you need any reminders of the candidates' answers. Apologies once more for the technical problems we've had tonight, which has slightly stilted debate, but I'm sure you've heard quite a deal from both the Middleton Independents and Labour Party candidates. So I'd lastly like to thank all three of the candidates, although we've only seen two of them and slightly heard from the third, Keeley. So I'd like to thank you both, Lee and Neil, and also Keeley. Apologies to the rest of you who couldn't get online, but I'd like to just to say thanks for participating in tonight's hustings. I do wish all 8 candidates the very best of luck in next Thursday's election. Just a very, very last reminder to everybody at home that you have 3 votes in this election, so you can vote for 3 candidates out of the list of 8 in the Middleton North. Some other candidates in other areas, there might be 9 or there might be less. So there are 8 standing in Middleton North, and you have the chance to vote for 3 of them. So yes, we could see some major changes, or we could see just the same as we've had before. Who knows? So thank you, Neil, and thank you, Lee, and thank you, Keeley, for having a go, but unfortunately didn't quite work tonight. Thanks everybody at home for watching, and goodbye.